Welcome to the Business and Interiors podcast, the place where the world of interior design meets the essence of business success. I'm your host, David Del Greco, alongside my co-host, Cinzia Moretti of the award-winning Moretti Interior Design Studio. Our mission is to help interior designers run, streamline, and grow their business with confidence. In this podcast, we dive into the professional journeys and personal stories of some of the most inspiring interior designers and creative entrepreneurs. Each episode offers a glimpse into the strategies and experiences that have helped shape their business in this ever-evolving industry. So tune in, get inspired, and join us as we uncover the stories behind the design. Welcome to the podcast. We are thrilled to have Alex Dauley with us today. Alex is a storyteller, a visionary, a passionate advocate for inclusivity in the design world. Originally from Wales and now based in London, Alex is an award-winning interior designer whose design philosophy focuses on creating aesthetically pleasing, functional, meaningful spaces that reflect her clients' personalities and aspirations. Her holistic approach blends style, emotion, and purpose, resulting in interiors that are both timeless and uniquely tailored. As the co-founder of United in Design, Alex plays a pivotal role in promoting diversity across the design industry, making significant strides toward a more inclusive space. Additionally, Alex has made a name for herself in the media, serving as the lead designer on Channel 4's The Great Home Transformation and sharing her expertise on BBC One's Morning Live. Alex, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm so excited you're here today.
Oh, I'm very excited.
I always like to start the conversation with how everything began. So can you walk us through your professional journey to date?
Yes, so I grew up in Wales and I was there until I was 19 and I met my now husband and he's from London.
Okay.
And so I came to London not really knowing what I wanted to do in terms of a career. I was always quite creative, but I just hadn't found that clear direction yet. So I started working in an estate agent, and then I was a property relocation agent for several years. And that's really where my love of property started, looking around beautiful homes for my expat clients. And then I had 2 children, so I've got my daughters, and then I worked in a school for a few years, but still felt like I hadn't found my true passion. Mm-hmm. And then because I worked part-time, there was a course at KLC School of Design, which was on a Friday. And my husband Gareth said, well, look, you know, you love it. You've renovated our house. You've did quite a good job. So why don't you go and just see if it's something that you like? And literally after that very first lesson, I was hooked. And I had no intention really of going there and maybe thinking this could be a career for me. I was just doing it as something that was great on a Friday that wasn't mum related and home related, and it was just something for me to enjoy. But I loved it, and I found that I was quite good at it. I could put a scheme together. I could understand, you know, how the principles of design worked, and my tutors really encouraged me to kind of pursue it after the course was finished.
And what did you do once the course finished?
So once the course finished, I was 32, and I felt that I was a little bit old probably to go into a design practice, although in hindsight, it probably would have been quite a good thing to do to have gained more experience. But I thought, no, I want to work for myself and start my own company. And it's very different starting a business. I think, you know, for several years, it was an incredibly expensive hobby when you start from scratch with no clients and no portfolio. But I had a will to succeed, and I was passionate, and so I thought, no, let's give it a go. And I had a great mentor in my tutor, Evie Dunbavin-Hans. She tutored me. I would sit with her in her studio a couple of days a week and just observe how she interacted with her clients and trades and contractors. And I picked up a lot along the way.
Amazing. So what would you say were the toughest parts when you started your own business?
I think the really difficult thing is for interior design in particular, and in often other creative sectors as well, it's like that chicken and egg. You know, you need to have the portfolio to get the clients. but you don't have that portfolio, and to get so it's really, really difficult. You need somebody to take a chance on you so that you can, kick off and then get some work that you can show exactly what you can do. So that was really, really hard. I did have a business coach because I think you can kind of see where you'd like to be, but that seems a very long way off. And so there's so many steps to take before you can reach that end goal. So I had quite lofty ambitions, but she taught me how to chunk things down. That was the terminology she used.
Chunking, yeah.
Chunk it down into manageable bite-sized pieces. And so she would just set me tasks every month, so literally, what is the service offering? What does that look like? Getting your paperwork in order. That constantly changes, though. It's a constant iterations to the paperwork, but getting that in order, looking at marketing, getting your accountant set up. So I'd never run a business before, ever. So it was a complete baptism of fire. My husband's in business, so he helped me quite a lot. But yeah, you can be as creative as you want, but actually running a business is a completely different kettle of fish.
Because what you learn at any school is actually designing.
Yes.
But when you're there in the real working world, you need to set up a business. It's a completely different thing.
It is a completely different thing. And in terms of, and finance, I think, is a huge part of that business model, and understanding finance, understanding your profit and loss, understanding your monthly outgoings, and that ultimately will kind of lead you to your pricing structure and what does that look like. Because I think when I first started, I'm so grateful to be doing a job that I love, and then clearly wasn't charging enough money.
Right.
But when it's just you on your own, you can kind of get away with it just about. And I just ploughed everything I earned back into the business for marketing and photography and websites and all of those things. But when you start getting bigger projects and then you need to take on staff, how many times have I just never paid myself because I'm just paying my staff and just trying to keep it.
And sometimes you're afraid, right? If you start obviously paying yourself, you're afraid that there's no enough, obviously, in the pot for everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're really, really happy when a job comes in, and it's great for the studio, but you've always got, one eye on, okay, the next job and the next job. You can enjoy this for a moment, but as a business owner, you're always thinking about business development and getting more working to sustain the business.
So, what's your go-to strategy for setting pricing that help you grow your business?
Well, funnily enough, I think we probably don't talk about money enough in this country. We're quite, nobody says how much they earn and how much they charge, and it's all a little bit cloak and dagger because we're incredibly polite. But really, my accountant just sat me down and said, right then, Alex, so these are all of your outgoings. This is how much you're paying for marketing and staff and insurances and all of these things. Number at the bottom. Right. How much would you like to earn? Oh, well, I'd quite like to earn X amount. Oh, right. So your business will have to pull in this. And I was like, oh my God. But it stares you in the face. And I think you kind of need to do that exercise because there's no getting away from it. Then there's no emotion. It's not like, oh, I don't think I can charge this much, or this doesn't feel comfortable for me to charge this much. Are they going to say yes? No. You have to charge that amount of money to keep going. It's as simple as that. And then your pricing structure is set.
Well, you're quite confident right at the start, because obviously when you start, I think you mentioned, you don't know where people take chances on you at that early stage.
I went through several different pricing structures. It was like, we'll price per square foot. Oh, yeah, but then that client was a bit of a nightmare, and then that took even longer. So now I've shot myself in the foot because now I'm losing money because I priced it per square foot. then, you know, and then it's how long the project's going to take, or it's a 4-bed, so therefore I'll price it. I did another 4-bed last year, so it should be this. There was no real science behind it. Yep. It was more sort of, this is what I think it should be, and I feel comfortable at this level, and this is giving me enough to kind of live on for, you know, comfortably. But that was maybe when I had less staff or staff on lower wages. As soon as that goes up, and as soon as you start having to pay for more subscriptions, more licenses, all of the things that come with business, you have to just look at what the bottom line is and charge. And
raise the bar.
Either they will say yes or they will say no. But the fact is, you can't actually afford to do the jobs that are paying you less, because then you
don't make any money.
You won't make any money, and you won't be able to run.
Because the problem is sometimes clients don't understand this is a proper job with a lot, you know, overheads to pay and stuff to pay, and the thing is just an artistic flair, but it's not. So
I think interior design has a lot of work to do, the industry, in terms of positioning our profession in that professional light, where people understand the complexities of the job. Unfortunately, and I say this as somebody who has worked in television, but unfortunately we are portrayed in TV that we fluff cushions and we just choose paint colours, and it's so much more than that. It's so much more involved. You know, we are professionally trained. A number of us are professionally trained. We work with architects, we understand plans, you know, we're looking at electrical plans, plumbing plans, you know, we're designing pieces of furniture, we're working with artisans, you know, we're working on some projects for several years, you know, dealing with clients that, you know, can be really, really lovely, but then can also be quite difficult. And there's all of those complexities and juggling so many different moving parts, contractors, your trades, your suppliers, the brands, the clients, the architect, the QS, the PMs. You know, we are, you know, really linking everybody together. And that comes at a cost. But unfortunately, people, the general public, often if you're not familiar or have not worked with interior designers before, have no idea of how involved we are and actually how crucial we are to a project. Lots of people think I have to have a builder because I can't build and I need an architect. You only have to look at some of the programs on TV where they have prioritized the builder and the architect, and then you go back at the end of the program and you go, it's a bit dull. You know, the interiors was an afterthought, whereas actually interiors are crucial to the outcome of the project.
Result,
You know, how you live in that space is going to be dictated, and how you feel in the space dictated by the interior, not by the box of the building. It's the interior. It's important. I'm not saying that's not important, but the actual interior, the layout, the fabrics, the materiality, all of those things have a huge impact and should not be an afterthought at all.
Yeah, it's such a shame when you see these amazing buildings, amazing architecture, and then like you said, you look inside and it's so underwhelming.
It is underwhelming, and it's because people again don't understand the value. And I think that the media, I think that our organizations that are, you know, fronting our industry need to do more to promote interior design in the light that it should be promoted.
Yeah, because sometimes clients, they think, okay, yes, the architect, you know, the professional, right? And then, you know, they don't regard as the interior designer as someone with authority as well, you know?
I mean, I recently did something which I've never done before, and, you know, I may never do again, but I had a client that was sort of just pushing back, questioning me, on some of my professional decisions and things. And so I just said, okay, fine. I tell you what, I'm going to be hands off, and you move forward. And, you know, if you think that, you know, you're able to do this with less involvement from me, that's fine. But we can't kind of do this back and forth. So I left her for about 10 days. And during that time, you know, the contractor was like, oh, we need the electrical plans, and we need this, and we need the positions of this. And, you know, have you got the kitchen laid out? You know, because the designs were done.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this whole, you know, and they're in construction now because we were brought in sort of late. And it was just 10 days. That's all it took. And then it was, actually, Alex, no, you need to. And that's, again, highlighting that the client didn't start off realizing the importance of what we offered.
Yeah.
But then when they tried to take that on themselves, suddenly it's like, oh, we could definitely couldn't do this without you. And it's like, well, no. So
That's what I do. What I do.
Yes, exactly.
exactly.
And in your journey, there's always significantly influence that change your path.
Mm.
Which one was yours when you decide, okay, that's definitely he's changing my business?
I think I've always just been very aspirational as a person. I'd love to get to a point where I just feel content. I think that's my aim, is to feel contentment, but I'm still always striving. And I think my business needed to change because I wanted more from my business, and I wanted to work on bigger projects. And so it is hard to say no to certain things, but I had to kind of draw a line in the sand and just say, no, I'm only going to work on this kind of level of project now. And you know, there are sleepless nights because you think, well, you know, I need to keep that coming in. But I think, yeah, that was a real change. But the change really did come from me and my aspiration to do more. And in terms of, you know, the work, you know, that we do with United in Design and everything, I think the way in which I run my business, I always just want to be, you know, approaching everything with integrity and real, you know, just being my authentic self. I think the industry as well it's tricky to navigate. I think it's a difficult industry to navigate. I think there are, you know, there's an old guard, and there are kind of ways in which people have worked in the industry for many years, and it's just not me. It's just not who I am. It's just not how I want to work. I want to do things in my own way. So that's how we're moving forward.
I think this brings me to the question, you know, your portfolio really shows off your unique approach to design. How difficult is it to be original nowadays and to push the client outside their comfort zone?
I think because clients are now surrounded by inspiration, so they will often send me their Pinterest boards, and they will, you know, and they follow interior design, so they know it quite well. I think it's good in a way, because at least they have more of a vision, but in another way, there is that danger that everything starts looking the same.
Confusing as well sometimes, you know, they love this, but they also love that, and then it's really hard to...
Yeah, it's really difficult, because what they don't understand, you know, you could, oh, I love this Victorian style kitchen, but I also love this LA contemporary bungalow style minimalism. And it's, you know, how do you know, bring or have a synergy between those two things that then fits into their 1930s house? So it can be quite hard. But I think in terms of pushing them, I would like to move away from really what they taught you in design school, was that you designed and then you specified and shopped. And I think a lot of designers do that. Obviously, it boils down to us the budget on the projects as well. But, when I go to, and it's not that I go often, but when I've been over to Paris and I've seen how they design and how they approach a project, and every single aspect of that project has been designed. If you're doing some tiles, you've worked with a ceramicist, to create them. You've designed all of the pieces of furniture, the wall coverings, etc. And so, to bring more of that artisanal craft back into design, I think that's where you will be able to have more nuanced designs, designs that are individual. Because if you're buying off the shelf or you're buying from, well-known brands, there's a place for that, don't get me wrong. But I think it's about striking the balance. Because otherwise, yes, they can all start to look the same. I mean, last year, I think every one of my projects, bar maybe two, said that the style that they wanted was Soho House.
Okay.
And that can be tricky then to,
It's also, quite refreshing, because sometimes, when you think of British interior design, you have a specific idea in mind, and all of a sudden, when you look at, different portfolios or different projects out there, they all, like you said, they all start looking the same. So someone that actually wants something a little bit different from that, a little bit more contemporary, but still having that sort of timelessness and some personality in the interior, it's nice to hear.
Oh, yeah, I think they're definitely being more bold in terms of their color choices and their material choices. Ultimately they want the space to work and to function and to be practical in some cases, and then I mean, that's certainly the design kind of ethos that I follow, that kind of Bauhaus principle of form follows function, and I make sure the space works, and then we wrap it in a beautiful aesthetic. But yeah, the clients are definitely more vocal, I suppose, in what they like and what they don't like. But I would prefer that anyway. At least we all know where we sit in that.
Do you think that with social medias, clients go to social medias, Pinterest, Instagram, they do have an opinion about design now?
They do have an opinion about design, but they don't understand how to create what they've seen and whether that's even going to work within their space. They also have no understanding or very little understanding about how much that will cost. And I think that's the major hurdle that I come up against, certainly. And like I always say to everybody, you can have what you want. If you can dream it, it can probably happen. Or we can find somebody who can create that for you. It will just cost money. Yeah. Everything will cost money. So if you can afford to pay for it, then absolutely we can go down that path. And then when you tell them how much it costs, it's, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting that. But then I always say, well, what is it that you were expecting, and what is it that you had to base that on? If you haven't done a project maybe of this size before. So a lot of our job is also that managing of expectation, and not to pour water on excitement and things, but it's just to realign, I think, expectation, and we always kind of bring back to center.
That's great.
And previously, you mentioned about Uniting in Design. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So again, going back, to the industry and my experience in the industry, I had a really positive experience in the industry. But I will say, in my whole life, I have never felt disadvantage, as in I had never felt that I was a person that was disadvantaged, whether that was, I didn't go to a particularly great school, but I was always quite bright, and so I was fine, and every job I'd ever had, I had done well. Really until I started in interior design. And then the fact that I hadn't gone to, a private school, I, hadn't married somebody that was incredibly connected. I didn't have, incredibly wealthy friends that I could work for. And I was a black designer. Suddenly I was like, oh, in this industry, I am at a disadvantage. And I really felt that and continue to feel it. And so when George Floyd was murdered back in 2020, Sophie and I, we came together with a shared kind of vision to try to level the playing field somewhat within the industry and to give people from ethnic minority backgrounds, socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds, an in, essentially, to open the doors. Because I think, previously the design industry is very insular and closed. And at the preserve of a certain type of person from a certain type of background, and it needs to be opened up, and people need to be given the opportunity. And like Sophie and I have always said, it's not about the lack of talent, it's always about the lack of opportunity that are afforded to people. So United in Design was born, and over the last 4 years we've created programs, apprenticeship schemes, mentoring programs, schools outreach, to encourage people to consider really a career within the interior design sector. And then if that is something that they would like to do, we offer the support and guidance and nurturing needed to break into the sector and to ultimately gain employment and experience. And all of our apprentices, they're all I think 16 of them, they're all now working full time in this industry, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I've heard some great stories, some success stories. So, congrats on that.
Thank you. I think it's definitely needed. I think it's something that's needed. I think, in all industry, there needs to be opportunity for people to thrive and to show their talent and what they can do. And ultimately, it's better for business anyway. If you have a design firm and then you're suddenly having influence from people of different cultures and backgrounds, that can only add, several layers to your business, which is a positive thing.
You mentioned authenticity earlier on, and I find that many interior designers struggle to put themselves out there and show off their work or personality in an authentic way. But you excel at it. You're probably a natural talent. When I look at your Instagram feed, I can see that obviously you're a pro at it. And what or how important do you think building a personal brand is nowadays?
I think it's really important. It took me a very long time to put my finger on what the USP was, because everybody kept asking me, well, what's the USP? And I finished design school, and I had imposter syndrome, which I think a lot of people do, and I sort of just wanted to fit in. So I just looked around and I said, okay, well, I'm just going to be a little bit vanilla, I suppose, and set up a website that wasn't really that exciting, and a brand that it didn't really say anything about me as a person. And then my design style as well, I design for the client. Obviously I have my preferences, which is, beautiful contemporary work. But I design for the client. And so I wasn't ever going to be, well, all of my projects are beige, or all of my projects are, really maximalist. So that was never going to be the USP, the actual project work. And I was away with my husband on a holiday, and it was just the two of us, and that's never happened before either. And we were just chatting about business, and it struck me, and it not to sound conceited, but it was like, actually, you are the USP of the business. You are, because no one is you. You are unique. The way in which you approach projects is your own unique way. And like you said earlier, you can look across several people's work and see similarities in that work. But it's the way in which that designer has worked with that client, has worked with that developer, that keeps that repeat business coming back. So they themselves are the USP. Hence why so many, design firms are, eponymous design firms. And it's the name of that, that designer, because it is about them. So then I thought, well, if it is about me, then I just need to lean into me and actually pull on the things that I'm not pro at them, but, things that I'm quite good at. So, speaking on camera and having that kind of personality and not shying away from that. And also because I want to do other things within the sector and not just design. Rebranding as just Alex Dauley allows me to branch off into different directions. So I think certainly knowing who you are is incredibly important when building a personal brand, because ultimately people buy people. People will want to work with you because of who you are and how you approach and what service you give, but that comes from you. And actually, if you are the head of your business, your ethos and everything comes from you. So your staff and everyone that works from you should be coming from that place as well. So it is important.
I think it's about obviously understanding who you are, but also being brave and embracing that as well. Because sometimes people, I know who I am, but I'm a little bit scared to put myself out there in a different way, because maybe I'm going to alienate some of the clients or some potential business.
Yeah, I think I hit 40 last year, and I don't know what it is about hitting 40. I definitely approached it towards my late 30s as well, where I'm just in a stage in my life now where I genuinely don't care as much about what other people think. Nothing is more important than my family and my close friends, and it's their opinion that counts. And I'm always of the opinion that if you can sleep at night, then it's all good. Like there's nothing else for you to worry about. So, I had more to lose, I think, being or continuing to be inauthentic, suppressing parts of yourself and your personality. I think that's actually more damaging than just being yourself and putting yourself out there. Some people will like it and some people won't, but that's life. No, that's, you're not going to be liked by everyone, but that's okay. And that's fine. And actually, you want to be able to attract clients that want to work with you in the way that you've presented yourself, rather than have clients where you constantly feel there's a conflict because you've presented yourself, not in that authentic way.
And talking about different directions, I know you done the BBC Once Morning Live. How that started?
So I was just approached just randomly. I had an email one day saying that, they were going to do this show and they were looking for a designer. And so I had to do like a screen test and things. And then they said, right, yep, you got the job and we start in, 6 weeks or something. And I mean, it was post-COVID, it was in 2021, and I think if that period of time taught us anything, it was that, you need to, really grab life and just, be grateful for everything that you have, and also to be brave and to say yes to things. I had no intention of ever doing any sort of TV before. It hadn't been something that was on my radar to pursue. But I thought, well, it's what I do every day in my job. There'll just be a few more people with some cameras. Like, how bad can it be? And in fact, I had a great time. I had a wonderful time. It was a really fun experience. It totally different, not real life design at all. I mean, designing something and then creating it in 3 days is not how we work normally. But I was very firm as well with the kind of production company that if we are creating these spaces for people, we listen and we will deliver them a home that they are proud of and that they love and that genuinely does improve their way of life. You know, I'm not ever going to be that designer who goes, you know, I know you hate orange, but we've done the whole thing in orange. Like, I just would never do that because I just find it incredibly disrespectful. And it is, you know, because, you know, they want, they have an idea, and I feel like our job as designers is to listen to those clients, listen to to the people on the show, and then just elevate. You know, take what they've said, understand it, and then take it to a place where they couldn't have elevated because they don't have that kind of professional eye. That's my job in design.
And how that television experience changed your business?
Do you know what? It didn't actually change my business in the respect of getting more work, which some people are surprised about. I wasn't surprised about it because the projects that I was, you know, doing, as I say, 3 days, quick turnaround. Yeah. I think I was probably surprised that it didn't gain more traction in terms of, you know, the followers and things like that on social media, which, you know, it's a bane of most people's lives, I think, you know, because you either have to lean in and be an influencer, but that in itself is a full-time job.
Indeed.
And, you know, to get the collaborations and all of this, then they immediately look at your following, your numbers. Yeah. So that can be quite difficult. So I was maybe surprised that it didn't do very much in that respect, but I wasn't surprised that it didn't get me very much work. But to be honest, the experience and the people that I met, it was 100% worth doing it, and something that I would love to do more of.
Amazing.
And what is next for you?
Oh, I mean, as I say, I have huge aspiration. I would love to continue to work on, you know, large scale residential projects. I would like to move into the hospitality sector and do more sort of food and beverage and, you know, hotels. And then I would also like to explore, as I've said, the sort of media side of things. So, you know, developing myself as a personality, you know, for the interior design sector, but on television, podcasts, radio, and then ultimately I would love to have a range of product as well. I mean, I'm definitely one of those people that I don't get bored of any one thing, but it's just nice to have several different things with design and creativity at its heart. Yeah. But then to do different offshoots of things as well, just to keep it exciting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think in one of your recent LinkedIn posts, you mentioned that interior designers shouldn't be scared of AI, if I remember well. And how do you see artificial intelligence impacting the interior design sector, and how is it helping you right now?
Well, funnily enough, I thought of AI as, you know, the CGI and computer generated images, and I was sort of like, oh well, no, we don't want that, because that will, you know, impact our kind of creative presence within the space. However, I've since learned that AI has so many different kind of values, and within business particularly, helping with the generation of administrative tasks is phenomenal. I discovered ChatGPT recently. I'm definitely behind the curve because my kids knew all about it. But that's amazing. It's so quick and intuitive, and so I think from a business perspective, back of house and admin, we are using AI. Yeah. In the business. From a creative point of view, I would love, because I don't believe it does it at the moment, but, you know, somebody can tell me that I'm wrong, but it would be great for AI if you were able to kind of put a floor plan in to AI and then give it the prompts.
Yeah.
For it to create something from that would be amazing for concept stage of design and things like that. I don't think it can do that yet. So at the moment, you're just kind of putting in the prompts and then it's bringing everything up, which when you then look on social media, they all look very similar. So I feel like it doesn't give me personally enough control to be able to even give that to a client at concept stage at the moment, because it's too far removed from what their project actually is, if that makes sense. But definitely on the sort of admin side, it's a game changer. And I sped it up.
Do you use ChatGPT for any marketing tasks as well, or is it mainly admin?
I mean, just, if you're right. Okay, so for instance, if you're doing business development, for instance, and you need to write those, those cold emails to people, you can feed it all of the information and it'll give you those cold emails. If you're, maybe thinking, oh, I need to maybe add in an additional clause into something, you can ask it for, you can write something yourself and put it in there, and then it will sense check it for you or improve it for you as well. So it works kind of in both ways. It's almost just having like an additional team member in a way. If I need something checked, or I can writing maybe maybe writing a concept or the design brief, like that first heading or whatever, I can feed it in there, it will just do it. Obviously you check it and change things, but then off you go. It's a time saver. That's why I would say it saves time.
And I think that's super important, because interior designers, the main currency is time. So, saving some time obviously helps.
Oh yeah, for my studio manager, it's been great. She's incredibly busy. So if that can save, even, okay, I need to send, however many emails, that will save her so half an hour. If you can take half an hour there, 15 minutes there, it will all add up, and it just means that she's able to do other things.
Right.
And what is the best advice you were ever given?
Oh, I think the best advice I was ever given was probably nobody in the industry, but my mum, she's incredibly wise, and it's always just to always lead with integrity in all things. She's just, and we don't, you have to stick up for what you believe in, and you always have to, I just can't stand, inequality. Those are things that just never sit well with me. So it's always to like lead with integrity and truth. And she's always instilled that in me since I was, really, really small, and it's how I kind of go through life. And also to just not sweat the small stuff as well. I think it's important. I think in this industry it is important what we do. But it's also incredibly important to maintain perspective. And I think, not to get too much into your own head and to worry about things that are ultimately out of your control as well. It's important to remain balanced. I try to remain balanced.
Do you have any habits or routines that you use that help you get through the day, or?
I've learned over the years that I'm not a morning person. So I actually, if I've got an important task to do, I'll often say, well, I'm just going to do it in the evening, and I can work until 1 o'clock in the morning. And I know some people will be like, that's ridiculous. But then I would rather, I find I'm really productive in the night. I don't know why. Maybe it's because everyone's in bed and it's like super quiet. But I almost have like a more energy later in the day. So I don't think I've got any sort of habitual things that I do, but learning how you work best and then implementing that has definitely helped me in my business. It's not for everyone, but yeah, 8 till 1, I can focus.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was so refreshing to have you here and to hear your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I had a lovely time. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed our conversation, feel free to share it with your friends. And if you wish to dive deeper into the business of interior design, we invite you to join our membership community at businessandinteriors.com. Until next time.